down there at the end of the table. Hi. Welcome everyone. I guess we're gonna jump into our December meeting. So my name is Alexa Aviles. I'm the chair of the Youth Board and the Youth Committee. So welcome Youth Board, Youth Committee members. We have an exciting, jam-packed meeting for you today. And we're gonna be holding some delicious snacks at the end for those of you who can hang with us a little bit. So welcome everyone and thank you for being here. I guess if we could very quickly go around the table and everyone introduce themselves, that would be great.
Hey everyone, my name is Ebube Weme.
Hello, my name is Amadou Diagni.
Hello. Oh, hello, my name is Ali Diablo.
Hello, my name is Ashanti Williams.
Hello, my name is Rochelle Robran of Child Center of New York, and I am in support of the My Brother and Sisters Keeper here for us.
Hello, Tracy Garcia.
My name is Peter McCree, board member.
Reggie Miller, also board member.
Sarah Marks, DYCD Director of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Greg Hambrick, Model Sporting Goods, member of the Youth Committee.
Tom Pendleton, New York City Department of Education and Youth Committee member.
Chuck Clayman, Youth Board member.
Hi, Nancy Waxstein, Fordham University, Youth Board member.
Lucy Friedman, Pinkerton Foundation, Youth Board member.
Good afternoon, Anthony Ng, Deputy Chief of Staff here at DYCD.
Hi, good afternoon. Sandy Trujillo, and I'm a Youth Board member, and I'm also part of the New York City Children's Academy.
Hello, Gary Jenkins, Human Resources Administration, Youth Committee member.
Hello, Susan Haskell, Deputy Commissioner Youth Services, DYCD.
And this is Andre.
Andre Joseph, DYCD.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. So unfortunately, Commissioner Chong couldn't be here today because of a scheduling conflict, but we are pleasantly, not surprised, but welcoming my co-chair for this meeting, Susan Haskell, the Deputy Commissioner of Youth Services. So we are so happy to have her. Thank you for jumping in. And I guess with that, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, keep me on track if, I don't know how Bill does this, but I'll do my best. There are some commissioner remarks in your folder which highlight the activities we've had since the last meeting in September. And so I'll draw your attention to Bill's letter. And while you're browsing through some of those items, I'll highlight a few that have my attention. One is, in particular, that Bill wanted me to mention, is on page 4, it talks about Lights On After School, which is a day to nationally recognize the efforts of after school across the country. And it's worth noting that this month is the 15th anniversary of the Out of School Time Initiative, now known as COMPASS for DYCD. It was a very big deal, and in recognition of the 15th anniversary, DYCD will be featuring some of the change makers that helped create that system, in particular Lucy Friedman, your colleague on the youth board. And I saw Lucy getting her recorded with her words of wisdom on the reflection of 15 years. To quote Bill, I don't mind repeating this for him because if you know Bill, you know he stays on message. One of his most effective things is he gets something to say and he stays on point with it. And his talking point is that without Lucy, after school would have been an afterthought. And if you think about how, so for DYCD, when that was launched 15 years ago, where we are today is that this agency has almost $500 million in after-school investments, like roughly $500 million from that time. Amazing. Thank you, Lucy. Thank all of you. And I guess you probably talk, if you're on social media, like if you're on Instagram and Twitter, I assume y'all have hashtag NYC Youth, right? So you'll get to see the wonderful like celebration that we'll have. That gets pitched to you on a regular basis? Okay, good. Also, just something near and dear to my heart, there's a public concept paper out right now, Unity Works, which is a connection of our services for runaway and homeless youth, specifically LGBTQI young people, and how the city, it's a concept paper for a program that could connect young people to employment services. So, of course, vulnerable young people have always been welcome into our employment programs, but their lack of stable housing, the challenges that they face with discrimination and sometimes family rejection make it hard for them to participate in the existing workforce program. So this one is going to offer many supports, including peer support and really trained adult advocates. And because in my first term at DYCD I worked with runaway and homeless youth, it was my program area, I feel really excited to see what we'll learn from that initiative. Yes. I think it'll be one contract for a workforce provider to subcontract with a group that has experience working with LGBTQ youth, specifically runaway and homeless youth. And I'll also note that their ICC hearing is going on this afternoon. So over at 2 Lafayette, the Interagency Coordinating Council on Youth is having its charter mandated, just like the Youth Board is charter mandated. The ICC will have an annual hearing. And so over at 2 Lafayette, there'll be community-based organizations and young people testifying there, just like there will be here today, testifying about DYCD services and their needs. So there are many other items on here. I'm open to any questions about those, about the report. Let me know.
Any questions? No? Well, thank you so much, Susan, and glad to hear there's always so much happening at the agency. It's really exciting. So I guess, yeah. Oh, one question. No, I know, the microphone is clear, that's it. I have a question. There's another microphone at the end of the table, and hopefully, if you have questions, please just feel free to chime in. Oh, there it is. Okay. And it's on as well. Awesome. Okay, so I guess we'll, moving on to the next part of the agenda, we have approval of the September 2019 meeting minutes. I'm sure you all thoroughly read these wonderful minutes. If we have any changes to suggest or a motion to approve? Great, we have a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. the wonderful September meeting minutes are approved. And I know we did that very expediently because we really want to get to you all. So welcome to you again. You know, the Youth Board and Youth Committee over the last year, and maybe then some, have really talked a lot about wanting to have more voices of young people and to hear directly from you as opposed to talking about what's happening out there. And so we are really working on finding different ways of engaging better and having you all present at the table. So we are really excited that you accepted our invitation to come here and tell us about the work that you are doing and the work that you see moving forward. And so my hope is that this will be a start of a conversation, and we'll continue that conversation with you all over the next couple months and years. I want to do a special thank you to Greg for you were able to see this group in action, so thank you for participating. We have an incredibly active youth board, and members jump in a variety of ways throughout the year. So always thank you for that commitment and that effort. And without further ado, I guess I will turn it over to, Tracy?
Yep. Okay, Tracy.
Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry. So I've had the pleasure of working with the council for about 3.5 years now. This particular group of young people, close to a year. They're going to talk a little bit about the projects they've worked on. I'm sorry, I'm still talking fiscal years. So FY19 and FY18, which is the third year of their contract. And they're also going to talk about work that they've just completed within the last 8 months. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you my brother, my sister's Keepers Youth Council.
Hey everyone, my name is Ebube Weme.
My name is Amadou Diagne.
My name is Ali Diablo, and I'm Ashanti Williams. And we are members of my brothers and sisters Keeper Youth Council, MBSK for short, and we're funded by the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD, and we consist of over 20 adolescents. And we consist of over 20 adolescents from the 5 boroughs that make up New York City, and as a group, much like New York City, we are a melting pot. We consist of over 8 different nationalities, and I make this point to say that although we all have different backgrounds and identities, we all come together collectively. Oh, I'm sorry. We all come together collectively at the end of the day to achieve one similar goal, which is making sure that teens have a voice within society, as well as trying to make a change within our communities. And the basis of our council is built upon a youth-adult partnership, YAT, sorry. And YAT exists when many adults see young people as full partners rather than as full partners in issues that affect the youth and the programs and different policies that are affecting us. And this takes place when both youth and adult, they learn to plan and work together with both groups to share and come up with ideas individually together. Sorry, I mixed that up. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Okay. Yeah, when both youth and adults learn to work together and come up with ideas, and they both have a say in the decision-making process. And although these partnerships are sometimes, they take time to take root and develop, they're worth it because at the end of the day, we're all trying to achieve the same thing. We're all speaking for the same people, and youth, they should be a part of this because they are the voice of the future. We are going to be the future generations. And yeah.
Alright, so throughout our journey with MBSK for My Brother Sisters Keeper Youth Council, we've learned and acquired a lot of new skills, and one of the skills we've learned to acquire is teamwork and learning to accommodate others' learning styles and how to better ourselves as a group. That was one of the first things we learned. Also, we learned about YPAR, Youth Participatory Action Research, and that would build the basis for our survey that we created last year to not only give information to the youth, but to help us collect data on the youth in New York City. So with that, we would not only collect data, but it would help us build the platform for our trip to San Francisco for the Beacon National Conference, where we not only shared our data, but we collected data from students from cities like San Pablo, Minnesota, LA, and we got to network with them. And it not only built our confidence with us four right here, but throughout the rest of the group, those that aren't here to present today. And it helped us create a sense of family. It helped us build who we are today.
We, as a group of young people, strive to be the voice of the voiceless for the youth in our society.
And this year we are doing something different by partnering with the Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD. We know they've always been there, but like this year we actually got to, partner with them and provide feedback and also support them in other youth initiatives that, occurring in the society. One of these initiatives was Teens Take the Map. It was a youth event that was held at the Metropolitan Museum. In this event, we're able to survey over 500 young people, and we surveyed them on questions that focused on youth voice in the society. The goal of this survey was to see if young people felt their voice were being impactful in the society, and also to gauge them on issues that matter to them. While the survey result is going around, make sure you pay attention to check it out. I'm gonna talk about it in a little bit. Can I get one? Thank you. If you look at the results, they're from the first page, this page. You understand? You're on the same page. The question is right there on top. Do you feel, as a young person, your voice is heard in the society? So under it, you can see that we got 560 responses. That's the people that actually answered that question. And like you can see, the color show if it's yes or no. The red shows no, and the blue shows yes. So do you feel as a young person, your voice is being heard in the society? 54.7% of the people we surveyed said no, they don't feel that way, while 45.3% felt their voice is being heard. And we went further to ask, is the voice being impactful in the society? And you can see that 51.8% said no, their voice wasn't being impactful, and the 48.2% said yes, it was being impactful. If you turn to the back page, behind with the beautiful colors, you'll see we asked the question, if given the opportunity to make an impact in the society, what topic matters the most? We have topics by the side like gun violence, racial injustice, immigration, and all these different topics are being differentiated by the colors. And 34.1% chose racial injustice. Would be like, most people chose racial injustice would be the one that mattered to them most. One person came up to me and was like, oh, all these topics are things that we need to, target and like actually take care of. And I was like, yeah, it is, but like, which one matters to you most? If you had the power to take one of them out today, right now, which one? And that's how they gave different answers and different results. And the last results shows the borough, different people from different places. 27.8% from Queens, yay! And 24.8 from Brooklyn, 23.2 from according to the survey, Queens won, so we fine. So this shows us that we got diversity, and we got a fair result from surveying people from different parts of New York City, and the results are fair, showing that we actually got representatives from each borough and each borough. Yeah, thank you.
How did you identify where did they come from?
The people, the event, the Teens Take the Map. It was a youth event held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Yeah, it was November 18th.
I was November, a little bit of context.
Eight.
Teens Take the Map is a youth event that is sponsored by the Metropolitan Museum, and it's a night where organizations and youth can come together. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's for that video.
Sorry. It's an opportunity where young people can come together, organizations can table, adults can network, but it's really open to teens starting that evening. And as he mentioned earlier, this is their opportunity where they decided to partner with us, and they were responsible for the DYCD table.
So yeah, during the event, we had members that walked around surveying people, asking them, hey, please, would you want to take this survey? And that's where we got the results from. Thank you.
Do you have a sense of
some younger kids as well that went up to the age of 10. Yeah, because when they came to the table, I wasn't really sure if they would know some of the questions, but surprisingly they did. Because we had a Wheel of Fortune game where I asked them different questions about the 5 boroughs. Yeah, and if they got it correctly, they went against each other. Whoever got it correctly, they won a prize. And it was really fun.
You think most of them were from high school?
Yeah, most of them were from high school, but I did see a couple of younger, like 5th, 6th grade.
Alright, hello? I don't know why I always think it's very low. Anyway, so my name is Aaliyah again. Okay, good. So we have adapted our vocabulary and adjusted our focal point to 3 important words, which is policy, investment, and initiative. We believe that it is our onus or responsibility to research these words and then illustrate how it connects back to the youth in our community, including us. Okay, so these 3 words are important to us because we have become aware that policies are created when problems arise. When there's a problem, policies are put in place. So the government or an organization or an outside third party then allocates money or make investments to act as an aid in creating a solution for the problem. The investment is then allocated to the different initiatives in the community, which could be like a youth council, beacon programs, summer youth employment, different initiatives. Okay, so as an example, to like give you guys like an idea of what it is, I use our youth council, which is my brothers and sisters keeper, MBSK. So we was created because of a policy, and they felt like young people needed more of a voice in our community, and money or an investment was made into YDI, who then partnered with Child Center to like run the initiative, which is our council. So that's the example. Our goal is to make sure that young people know about the investments they're using and that adults are applying the investment in collaboration with the young people, which goes back to what Ashanti was saying about the youth-adult partnership. And yeah, in collaboration with young people, so they can offer things that people want, that we want, and not what adults think that we need or is a necessity. So we would then accumulate the knowledge that we gain based on our research and apply that to our future projects. Our goal moving forward is to research the policies that exist as of now, and also the investments that were made into them, and to then make sure that the investments are properly utilized by the initiatives. That's it. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I have a question. This is a wonderful survey. What do you expect to do with the results? Question is, what do you expect to do with the results on the survey?
Okay, so the results from the survey, the event was, last month, and after the event we had to go for a retreat upstate, to gather as a council and also do teamwork activities. So coming back, this is something we plan on dissecting moving forward as a council and talk about it in depth and look forward to what we could do with the results going forward. But if you look at the the brochure that you have there's on one of the lines there's a way that says how can you contribute to the society, talking about youth. So coming from this survey, most of it is about youth voice. Do you feel your voice is being heard? So if you do not feel your voice is being heard, how can you make yourself be heard in the society? And this right here in the middle part, the other side answers the most of the questions from that. Thank you.
Okay, so this isn't our first survey. So last year we also did a survey where we surveyed a lot of youth and people from our schools. And after we got that information, as he said, we dissected it and figured out what we want to do with the information, which was then give it back to different teams in our communities. Because a lot of the information that we found out, a lot of the teams didn't know or weren't aware of the different programs that were supposed to be for them. So that's probably what's gonna happen with this information also.
To add on, just bring a little point to what she said. If you guys open your brochures, there's did you know sections. For example, on this side right here, it says the Point Foundation offers scholarships to high school students that identify as members of the LGBTQ community, and the results of the survey showed that 59% of the survey takers weren't even aware that there was an opportunity like this. And on the first side, it says that schools in throughout New York City offer mental health services, whether it's via external professional or someone that works inside the school. But about 43% weren't even aware if their school even offered mental health services. And I feel like this is something, these are opportunities that we need to bring up and bring to the voices of people who have power to do something and enlighten the children of what's available for them.
And lastly, to add to that, with our research and our survey results, we're also going to research different policies that are available that could help with these, with the different choices that they pick that they care about the most. We're going to do research on the different policies and investments that are available into them, and we're also going to put that into a brochure, I believe, which we could then hand out to our schools and to our peers, and we handed out this brochure at a Super Saturday event, so I'm hoping that we'll get the chance to do that this time, but just better, because last year, although we did it and it was a lot of fun, we didn't have as much teams as we thought we would have. So this year I'm hoping that we could promote it even more and get more students out.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, since what you just said was the importance of doing outreach and raising awareness, how did each of you find out about this, YBSK? Or how did you get involved? How did you find out about it?
I found out about it with her. She's my best friend. I heard that she joined, and when she told me what the program was all about, it was fun. So I thought it was fun. And then I went to a meeting, and when I went, I thought that they were going to treat me like a new person. You know, like I was scared, like I am right now. I was nervous, very nervous. But instead, they treated me like family, and they made me feel so welcome. And since then, I've just been going back.
So I too found out because of my sister, who is not here at the moment. But I feel, although our reasons for like coming to the youth council may be like not that what's the word? I don't think it was that it was that concrete. It was that concrete. But I feel like we're here right now, which is good, because we could have left and not liked it, but I feel like our reasons for staying now is much more important. And I just feel like it gives us like a voice to like just speak our minds and have a say in what's going on in our environment. So
I joined the council because one of the facilitators for MBSK came to my school, and at that time I was a part of student government, and it was an opportunity to not only help me develop the student government at our school, but to also help youth in New York City and actually do something about the problems that we're facing every day.
To answer your question directly, like he said, one of our facilitators, she's not here right now, but even Rochelle is one of them also. They come to our schools, like the auditorium. So like he said, he was in student government. It's not like his specific type of people that they talk to, So it's not like a specific type of people that you talk to. You come to the auditorium, you hear, like Sierra told us, she spoke to them in a big auditorium, and then people that were interested came up to me and like, hey, how could we join the council? Like people that follow up. You could tell a lot of people stuff, and they don't all come together. You could tell a whole school that there's SAT prep, but like if they don't come to you, be like, hey, what time is the SAT prep? What class is the SAT prep? They don't have idea of that. They just know, oh, it's there. But like the same thing here. Oh, there's this youth council that is there to promote you in the community. hey, how could we join this council? So, that's how speaking to schools also reference. Like, I joined because Sahir, one of our facilitators also, she had a friend that works in my school. They went to high school together way back. So her friend told me that, hey, you do this in school. I work with the community in my school. You'll be a good fit for this youth council. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna join it.
So it sounded like there was personal outreach for each of you then.
Yes.
So how do you bring back what you learn and what you hear back to young people and to get their feedback? Is it through your schools again? Is it through your friends, or how does the communication happen and to keep you both connected to your young people as well as to be able to bring in new ideas?
Okay, so for me, I take the information that I learn and I take it back to my schools, and people in my class, like, they bring up topics within our class, like especially in my participation in government class. They bring up these topics, so with them bringing up these topics, that also gives me ideas on like what is important to them and like the people that are in my school. So some of those ideas I take back to the council, and like we talk about it and we dissect them even further, as well as I talk to my friends about it. And before I was trying to like get some of my friends to join, but I guess they weren't as committed or they had prior commitments, so a lot of them didn't really join. But they did say that it was a good opportunity and that I should keep doing what I'm doing, but they didn't. Yeah.
Also, another way we share out the opportunities and what we know throughout this council. Me personally, I'm friends with a lot of my old principals, old teachers, people that are involved in youth activities, people that are doing something for the youth. And anytime I learn something that's beneficial, that can help with community events, anything, I try to share that, whether it's talking to them personally, email, or I'll send something out by mail, as much as you can, as just talking and networking.
One major way we actually provide information back to the community is when we do our research, we find points, and then when we do the surveys, the surveys are a big way. We don't just, hey, could you take the survey? We actually talk to our survey takers. Hey, did you know that 62% of students, when they read the question, did you know that? And they're like, no. We also make sure we talk to them about it. During our research back with the council, we did research through various websites, information on Google. We found out that 62% of people don't know that students feel motivated to go to high school, and then we talk about it. So that's giving information back. And like Teen State the Mayor was a big opportunity where we spoke to various youth and also shared information back with them that they didn't know prior to that event.
And also to add on to what he's saying about our research on Google, when we did our research, we found out that there were also like a lot of resources that are available within our areas of interest, because we as well picked our areas of interest. And for me, mine was healthcare. So when I picked that, I learned that there were healthcare, especially for the homeless. So when I did that research, I found out that there are a lot of resources that are available, but they aren't necessarily utilized, and the public aren't aware of them in order for them to get the proper healthcare that they need. So the fact that these resources aren't being given out to the public, or public information, or even if it is public information, they don't know how to access it. They don't know who to ask the right questions to in order so that they could utilize them.
What excites you about being a part of the youth council? What keeps you coming back?
That's an exciting question.
The thing that keeps me coming back to this council is the sense of family that we all created, the atmosphere when I'm around everybody. Even if I've been in a bad mood all day, I go to the council and they make me laugh, they make me smile, and I have really a lot of fun for them, and I have a lot of love for them. Like they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 4 ways to go.
So, well, for me, including like the family part, I like something that is like a program that is rigorous and it could challenge my intellectual. I like something that I'm not gonna like get bored and just sit there and be there all day, just not paying attention, and something that I could be involved in. Yeah.
Beyond also it being a sense of family and knowing that you have somewhere to go, people you can talk to, people who actually care for you. It was also to the fact that me personally, I've always wanted to help people and give back to the community that gave me something. So being able to do that and being able to come back to my community with something in my hand to give them and tell them, and knowing something and sharing that with them, it always felt good.
I like the fact that I have a sense of responsibility being in this council, that there are other youth out there that don't have this opportunity to speak to, beautiful people like y'all. And I have I like that I have the responsibility of other people, and other people are counting on me, and the decisions I make or how well I use the opportunity that I have. So, that keeps me coming back, the drive from other people out there that are like, hey, we're not there, but like you're there, so make sure you're doing something good up there, So yeah, thank you.
Going back to youth adult partnership, going back to that, like when we come into like our meetings, it's not like we're going into like a place where it's dominating of adult presence or a classroom or someone speaking down on you. It's where we can go and feel comfortable to voice our opinions, and so also just be equals with the people that we work with. So yeah.
You guys are doing so much. I'm just so proud of you. So you said something about with adults and you having your own safe space to do what you need to do. But at what point, if at all, do you need some adult support, or do you wish you had some support? How would you want adults to show up for you?
I will answer this by going back to Teens Take the Map. So we did a survey. We had to research about the survey. But at what point do we need adults to come in? We needed tablets to make sure we had a platform to share the survey on, people to answer the survey on. And then DYCD assisted us. We had the Wheel of Fortune game on our table. We had to give gifts that, so they brought in key cards and tags, yeah, a bunch of, you say that. They brought in shorts, Nike shorts, and different stuff. So that's where we actually need adult help. So like the youth adult partnership, the youth do the research, adult bring the incentives. Thank you.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like it's great when you have like adults that are backing of the youth, but it's not okay when they like try to stifle like creativity. I feel like if they give us the voice, at some point, like there may be boundaries that you need to set before you start the relationship or partnership with them, so they would know like when they need to step in or not. And teens at times can like get out of hand, and you need to like that adult to bring you back all into focus and just monitor you to an extent, but not treat you as a child. So
Yeah, to add on to what she's saying, I feel like where the adults come in is to guide us and show us right from wrong in a sense, but not put certain restraints on youth. Because I can speak for myself. The manner that you approach people in will determine how they respond to you. And if a person feels like you're coming off hostile, or you're trying to set limitations for them, and that's not what they want, they won't agree with it, and the communication won't be perfect.
I'm glad Jeanette asked that question, because we've been thinking about bringing on young people as members of this very august body. And one of the questions is, would you feel, if you were that young person or young people, would you feel outnumbered or overwhelmed, or what could we do to make young people feel full fully a part of this body, which is adults.
um, it's not necessary. Number, sometimes it doesn't matter, you know, like you could have more adults in this room than young people, but young people are talking more, you know, so you just make sure the young people are involved in whatever you do, even if it's a group of teachers in a room and they have this one kid that's talking to them. It's just one kid, but it's like 5 teachers that are listening to what you have to say and that appreciate what you have to say. So he's, you know, giving that young person the respect. It doesn't have to be, oh, good afternoon, sir. Like, no. Just they're giving them the respect by listening to what they have to say and actually, you know, appreciating that they actually have something valuable to say. So the sense of connection, not the number.
I feel like just being able to sit here and having our voices heard itself and having people who are listening to the issues that we bring to the table is being a part of it. Feeling like we're not just being spoken at, but we're being able to speak to.
Yeah. Question?
So, I just want to challenge you on one point. Don't settle just for being able to sit at the table and have people listen to what you're saying. Challenge them to take you up on actually implementing the things that you're saying. If all you do is just sit at the table, if all you are is part of the conversation, or you're not actually pushing through, or we're not helping you push through the things that you're talking about, we just let you sit at the table. We just let you play with the big kids. We didn't actually let you be one of the big kids. We didn't actually let you be one of the adults. So I would challenge you folks to not just settle for sitting at the table, not just for having your 5 minutes to say some things, but to actually make something happen with what you say on whatever topic it is that you guys are going to take up.
So that leads me to a question about whether there are some actions besides the exchange of resources and information, which is very important. But if there, have you talked about taking some action on some city policies and school policy, or some, or doing something on your own, developing some kind of project or program?
Okay, so I feel like this goes back to our personal research that we did, because we each had a personal topic that we found interesting. So mine was art supplies and art funding. So in my high school, like I found out that we didn't get a lot of funding per semester per students, because when I broke it down, there were only $2 allocated to the students in the art program. So when I found out about that, I was actually really baffled and shocked. Yeah, flabbergasted. But personally, if I could address that and find out like the policy that put that into place and find out why certain high schools have more money than certain high schools, that would be like interesting to me and something that I would really like to work on.
And also going forward, like that's one of the reasons why we do this survey, why we do this research, is to actually push on to take on policies and actually find out what these policies are being done, like what the initiatives are being taken care of by these policies. And that's our work going forward from now. To research policies, find the investment that are put into these policies, and find the initiatives that are taking out these policies.
That was it.
The mic keeps going back to you, so I think the mic wants you to say something. Thank you all. So much wisdom being shared at this table, so I really appreciate that. I guess I was curious, I hear healthcare, art supplies. I was curious what other issues are important to you both on this. And then, so you have this treasure trove of feedback, of concerns. How are you gonna kind of process through and prioritize, how you're gonna move forward with these particular policy issues?
First, I would like to say my area of interest. When we were choosing, when we were picking areas of interest, mine was high school dropout rates. You know, and then that was when I realized that the dropout rates were actually dropping. So there are people working, and there are things being put in place to make sure the dropout rates don't increase and actually, you know, depreciate. And talking about how we gonna?
I think that goes back to our survey. I think that every single one of the topics that was listed on it that talked about something that mattered, that the teens felt that most impacted the society, like gun violence, racial injustice. I think that what we're going to do is pick the one that seemed the most significant based on our research and our survey, and focus on that at first, and then try to find policies, new research, and the investments and the initiatives, and try to find initiatives. And if that doesn't work, I'm not sure.
You will work. You will.
And to bring it back to what you were asking about our areas of interest, my area of interest was mental health awareness, and I felt like even beyond the people who are diagnosed with things like depression, anxiety, and all that, there are people that go through things and they don't speak on them. They feel like they have no safe place to frustrate themselves. And in my school, they had started this thing called circles, where your counselor had divided their list into sections, and you'd come around and it'd be a safe space for you to actually speak on your interests, what's bothering you at home, and things personal in your life.
Also, to go back on what he said about the mental health, our school, what he spoke about that his school they provide a therapist that once you make an appointment, you go, you sit, you talk about all your issues, and that right there, I feel like that right there is just beautiful, because I feel like a lot of students, they go through stuff that they don't necessarily talk about, and it affects them in a way. And instead of them just going out in the streets and they taking their frustration out there on drugs and doing whatever, that they have a safe place where they can talk. They have somebody that listens to them, what they're saying.
You have a question back here.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm so happy to see young people on the table. Question that I have, because I am in higher education. In your survey, did you think about the careers of the future and the careers that will be on demand in the future, in the job market?
You're about ready to get a college offer right now.
We want to see you in higher education.
Regarding to us or to the overall?
Regarding to you.
So me personally, I'm a senior, so started my college application and whatnot. So I have given this a lot of thought, and I can't exactly narrow down what it is that I want to do, but it looks like I'm leaning towards the medical field, because that has always been something that's important to me. I like taking care of people. I like being able to give back, and I feel like that's where I would make the most impact, because everything that I've done throughout high school, I noticed a trend with me. It has always led back to the medical field. Always. All the programs I joined, everything has always led me back to the medical field, despite my efforts to broaden my horizons.
Those fields have a lot of demand, by the way, at the national level.
Oh, okay. Oh no, that wasn't it. I was using which way to go. Anyway, yeah. But with me, I wasn't born in America. I was born in Guyana, which is close to Brazil, and in South America, if you guys want to know. But growing up there, it was different from like growing up here and with this educational like system. So with stuff back home, I was more hands on, and they're always teaching us to like, as she said, broaden our horizons and be involved in different stuff. And what like intrigued me the most is medicine, which is funny. But I like medicine because when we were back home, there weren't like a lot of fields that you could go into. There's literally, you become a teacher or you become a nurse, and that's as high as like you could become back home. And when I came here, I just became very involved in the science field and medicine, and I found out that I'm gonna be in like, I want to work with like kids because I really like babies and like toddlers and just little kids in general. So I would like to like help them when I grow up. So that's what I would like to do.
Me, I'm looking into travel because my parents are originally from Senegal, West Africa, and I recently went there not too long ago, and I started to realize that there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunities that we have in America, beyond just education, but the opportunity to learn and see different things, the opportunity to experience and play sports and do things that we're allowed to do, because a lot of them end up having to either drop out of school to help support their families, or they don't have enough money to pay for school, because here education is free for us until after high school. There, your whole school, you're paying for everything. Every year you're paying for inscriptions, your books, and everything that you need, and not everyone can afford that.
I'm Nigerian, and I grew up in Nigeria, and so if you grew up with African parents, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, you're not gonna you're not gonna be successful. And then I think it is, but like it's just harder on us because like, if you don't be like it's just worse, you know. So moving from Nigeria to America just, so growing up I always wanted to be a lawyer. I've changed professions like millions of times, but law was like the longest, the most consistent, I'll say that. So coming here, I opened my eyes to like, you don't only have to be a lawyer to, effect change. You could be a public relations, you could study political science in college and still go to law school. And I'm gonna be a public relations officer and a journalist at the same time. And I'm gonna show my mom I'm gonna still be successful.
Congratulations. Thank you for answering the questions. Go ahead.
The two careers and whatnot. I love poetry and I love writing. So journalism, I adore that. Like that is just ooh.
We can take out of the
table's open to answer whatever question you have. This is a dialogue, so I wanted to offer that, but if you want to continue to ask questions, I'll take your lead.
You can ask a question. I know at least one of you is a senior. One of the reasons groups, whether it's youth groups or student groups or old groups, lose momentum is because there's not new leadership that's being nurtured to come behind. You four clearly leaders. Are there younger people involved with the council who you think will be able to step into leadership roles and keep it going? Are you helping them?
Yeah, to answer that question, we're not only made up of seniors, because those who are graduated, but we're seniors. So there's also freshmen, sophomores, juniors within the council. So, and I feel like in a sense, all of the adults that are facilitating us, they're teaching us ways that we could help facilitate other groups. Like right now, the four of us actually, we're involved in a collaboration with the NYPD in East New York that connects to child centers. Yeah, child centers. So, and we go there every Tuesday, and we facilitate a group with younger kids, and we're basically teaching them what we were taught and helping them think of ways that they could give back to their community.
So, feeding off what she said, so we're not in that council right now because we are Rio, If not, this is the time 4 to 6 that we are with that council. And also talking about how we could, that the council doesn't stop with us. We have more members. We like 20 from like 8 different ethnicities, more than that, along different countries and different boroughs of New York. And this year we have new members, apart from we've been older members because we were here last year, but like this year we have new members added to us. So we don't act like because we've been here last year, they don't participate or they don't talk as much as us. We give everyone equal room and equal space to talk, and also we also hear them out and make sure they're involved in research that we do and activities that we do. And most of the new members that we had this year were highly involved in the survey we did at Teens Take the Mat, and everyone had their hands on deck. So we make sure that everyone is merged and no one feels they are being left out.
Adding on to what he said, I feel like everyone in our group are groomed to be leaders, and it's not just like the 4 of us being groomed to be a show and like represent what our council is. If you pick anybody from like our group, I'm sure they could represent us and represent us well. So yeah, just adding that one.
On that note, on a fabulous.
I'd like to. Greg was actually at the event, and I wanted him to give a little recap of what he thought about you.
Fantastic.
I was on another call. I think I'm getting put on blast now. What happened?
During a sub-event, you're going to give us a summary of your experience at the meeting.
Oh, so I'm at the young people. First of all, I apologize, I had to step out. Let's give them a hand, because they did. So it's funny, they were nervous about being here today. They were candid about that, so I kind of put them at ease. But really, our meeting was more informal. You can tell me that, because I wanted to tell them about the Youth Council and the Youth Committee and some of the things we were doing as a group and why we wanted youth representation at the group. And that really started the dialogue going between our conversation. Andre was a big help, because Andre really kind of framed the conversation in terms of how this discussion started. But they each spoke and told me a little bit about themselves in terms of their education and some of the things you already heard in terms of why they joined this organization, and we're excited that we wanted them here as part of the representation. And I told them 2 things. I told them, 1, this has been a conversation for quite some time, so you should really feel good about that. And be totally candid about the feedback. Like, we're not looking for you to be here and just tell us what you think we want to hear. We want you to tell us exactly what it is and what we should hear and how we can help and support you. So we had a real good conversation about that, and I was excited and they were excited. They all have different varied backgrounds and talked about what they want to do in the future in terms of education and so forth. So I think, I'm really excited that they were here. You guys did good. I know you kept saying you were nervous, and it's not easy. Every time I speak in front of Tom Pendleton, I get nervous too. So don't worry about it. He's really a nice guy. Don't worry about it. But listen, I told you about the diversity of this group and why we wanted you here, and I think you guys did great. And I guess I have one question since I have the mic. You were doing surveys on people like you, which is not easy. How did they respond? Because you got youth individuals doing surveys on youth individuals. And I'm not talking about the results. I'm just talking about how did you feel about youth actually responding to you doing these surveys? Because it could have been any one of us getting this information and doing these surveys. But really quickly, because I know we're pressed for time, but just one of you, just tell me how it felt to be reaching out to your peers to get this feedback. I think we only have time just for the lady, but.
But I feel like the way that we approach them, like Amadou was saying, the way that you approach somebody, that determines how they're gonna react to you. And I think the way that we approach them like we would our friends. Like we already knew them. Like we approach them like we would any other team. Like, hey, how you doing? Was there like, you know, like how we would react with familiarity. We reacted with that sense of familiarity, like we weren't above them. And we asked them. We told them what we were doing because they asked what we were doing. Like while we were here at the Team Take the Met events, for example, they asked us what we were about. We told them. And a lot of them were interested and started asking, oh, how can we join? How can we help? How can we give back as well? Even if we're not on the council, like, what can we do to help give back to our communities? And to answer that, I guess, I wasn't given the survey, so I wasn't sure what their responses were, but from what I heard, that it was really good feedback. A lot of them, like, they gave each other their social media accounts, like, a lot of them just, like, they became friends afterwards. Like, they gave each other their Snapchat, Facebook, whatever. Like, they communicate and whatnot. And I feel like that sense of familiarity, that's how we should approach them. Like, not like you're above them, like, oh, like, this is school and, like, you're dictating them. You talk to them with a sense of, like, like, we're on the same level, like, like,
and it was sort of a loaded question, and thank you for that, because it shows in the survey. You can't get this type of information if you don't approach in the right way. So all you guys should be commended for that.
Thank you.
So again, thank you, and this will hopefully be an ongoing discussion, and we should figure out, I want to hear more about the next steps, how you crunch the numbers and the issues and where your focus is going to be, and then how we can partner. So again, my sincerest thanks. I don't know if you're all going to stay for the rest of the meeting or go. You're absolutely welcome to stay. This is what it's about, so I'm delighted. So I'm going to move us on to the next portion because we're a little delayed. But this next part of the agenda is going to focus on something that's really critical that's coming up, Census 2020. You know, this is the big thing of this coming year, in addition to some other things happening at the national level. Because for our state, it means money and it means political representation. And we've seen that there's a sabotage happening to try to not count us, but we will be counted. So we are very excited to have the New York City Census 2020 team to present on how they're preparing their outreach efforts for this next year's census. So thank you.
All right, my name is Philip. I am in the External Affairs team at NYC Census 2020. And this is Sasha. She is our Deputy Field Director and helps to oversee and run our field team. Before we start, I wanted to extend a thank you to DYCD because we are part of you, literally. And also a very big thank you to Anthony because he's been incredibly helpful to us throughout the entire process. And since I started, I've been working with Anthony on a few different projects, and he's always incredible to work with, and I feel bad about bugging him all the time. But he's still very responsive and great to work with. And thank you for inviting us here because this is a good opportunity for us to speak to people from kind of many different sectors about why the census is important. We are from within city government, but we are also trying to work with folks everywhere across the board. So I will turn it over to Sasha now to kind of lead this presentation.
Thank you, Philip, and I want to echo the thank you. I also want to say that Philip and I were talking as you got briefly when you guys were presenting, we were saying, I don't remember being this eloquent when I was young, young and weird. So it is really inspiring to see, everything you guys are doing, and we're hoping we can get folks like you involved in part of our census efforts. So, all right, so we're going to give just a little bit of background about the census, and then talk more specifically about what the city is doing and the different ways that we're looking to get folks engaged and get the youth engaged. Okay, so for some background on the census, so census data determines basically the resources that city and states are allocated. So we're talking about our fair of over $650 billion in federal funding, and that's those are funds that go towards public education, public housing, and infrastructure, among other things.
Many other things.
Many other things.
Many other things.
Yes. So in addition to allocating resources, the census also determines our representation. So this slide goes over, what New York City specifically is facing. So if we are undercounted in the census, we could lose up to 2 seats in Congress. The census also determines redistricting, which means that council, state legislature, and congressional district lines could be drawn in ways that underrepresent large parts of New York City. And the census also determines our power in the Electoral College, and generally our power in Albany and Washington. So a concrete example of how the census really affects our communities on a local level. So if you look at a school, right? If the census only counts 100 students in a census tract is, how would you describe a census tract?
It's a combination of streets near each other, basically, and it's a few thousand people. It's not many people. There's hundreds of tracts across the entire city. I think it's about 2,500 people, something like that. But that's where data is aggregated at.
That's how the Census Bureau basically is divvied up, every city, etc. So if only 100 students are counted in a census tract, but there are actually 150 students there, that means there will only be enough resources, distributed for 100 kids in that school, which means that every single kid in that school will not get the education and the resources that they deserve.
And that's for 10 years, right? So the census is only done every 10 years. So if that's not the case if you have a 4-year-old child that you leave off the census, that 4-year-old child is going unfunded for 10 years. If you think it's not important, they're 4 years old now, well, in a few years they'll be school-aged and they'll be being in schools that are kind of under-resourced.
So there are a couple things that are new in 2020. That's okay. So when you think about the census, traditionally or historically, it was always paper form that you received in the mail, filled out, etc. For the first time ever, you can actually complete the census online. So you can do it on your smartphone while you're waiting for the train. You can do it on your laptop, right? So we're hoping that will make it easier for folks to participate. And you'll also, for the first time, be able to complete it over the phone. So there will be sworn-in Census Bureau enumerators on the phone available to assist folks in up to 13 languages, including English, to help folks fill out the census. Over the phone. And the form this time around will be the easiest it's ever been. It will be shorter. It's simple. It's just a few very basic questions. In a lot of our trainings, we use we talk about the 10-10-10. It's 10 questions in under 10 minutes that'll determine the next 10 years. So, very catchy. Okay, so in terms of challenges that New York City specifically faces, so one, as I'm sure many of you know, there was a controversy around whether or not a citizenship question would be placed on the census form. So the question never made it on the form, but the fear did, right? So it's still in people's minds. It's still something people are concerned about, and arguably that was by design. So that is something that in New York City, in particular, we'll be having to we'll have to dispel the myth that this is an issue, because almost 40% of New Yorkers are foreign-born and may have already been hesitant to fill out the census, and maybe even more now. There are more than 200 languages spoken in New York City, which means that our outreach needs to be tailored to reach out to folks in every language that are spoken. And, you know, this is a massive city, as we all know. So, you know, if Brooklyn was its own city, it would be the 4th largest in the country. So we have a lot of people to count. And also many New Yorkers lack reliable access to internet or computers. So we face some challenges. Luckily, so part of the messaging that we need to get into, and we need your help communicating to folks, is that Title 13 protects people's information. So the citizenship question didn't make it on the form, but say it had made it on the form, no matter what, that information could not have been communicated to anyone outside of the Census Bureau. Not other law enforcement agencies, not ICE, not the CIA, no, Title 13 makes it so all information collected, you know, through the census cannot be shared. It can only be used for statistical purposes and no other purpose.
Can I raise a question about that last slide? I don't know who you'll be showing this presentation to, but if I wasn't really paying attention, it says fear caused by citizen questions. My takeaway might be that the question remaining, even though you're being clear in your talking point, if I can't hear you, I suggest that slide say like proposed question that is not on
No, that's it.
It's going outside of this room.
That's a great point. Thank you, and you're right. We should be as clear as possible whenever we can to make sure people know. So thank you for that feedback. Do you want to add something to it? All right. So little quiz.
Maybe we should direct this to the students in the room. So, what percentage of people across the nation self-respond to the 2010 census? And that is, which percentage of people, or households rather, completed the census themselves without having to rely on a door knocker? Do one of you want to take a guess?
Yeah, this is
Well, nationally. Wow. Right.
A+.
Okay, so next question. Do you want to guess what the self-response rate in New York City was? Unfortunately, you're correct. Unfortunately, that is the reality.
Right. So, right. We're excited you were right, but we're also very sad that you were, because yes, in fact, the self-response rates were abysmal in 2010. So, as you can see here again, the national average was 76%. New York City's was 61.9%. Brooklyn had the lowest self-response rates at 55.5%. Right. So, yeah, that means, you know, basically half of Brooklynites didn't participate in self-response, and even Manhattan, which had the highest self-response rate for New York City, didn't even make it to the national numbers.
So in Brooklyn, what that means is that those door knockers, the people that go out later in the census period, had to knock on almost half the doors in Brooklyn. That's so many households, so many apartments, and the data that you collect from having to go door to door is so much less accurate than the data that the Census Bureau gets from family members sitting down and doing the form for their whole household. And that information, it's not just about completing the census, but it's about doing it accurately so that you get the resources that are appropriate for you and your community.
To clarify, it's the same 10 questions in 10 minutes from a person that knocks on the door to the same person that does it?
It is the same 10 questions, or it's actually it's fewer than 10 questions, but we say 10, it's about 10. But it is the same number of questions, but nothing says, you know, who wants the federal government knocking on their door. You know, that interaction might be shorter. If there's an enumerator, they might say, yes, I'm Philip, I live here with my husband, goodbye. You know what I mean? And that's all they get. And then, do you want to go into some of the other ways?
Well, and to add to that, So enumerators are actually allowed to use anecdotal evidence or proxy evidence. So they can, if you're not there, and it looks like maybe your apartment's vacant because you closed the, whatever, they can mark it as vacant, and then maybe they're leaving off 7 people, right? Or they can ask your landlord who's nearby, and your landlord may not want to, share how many people are actually there. So that is one of the reasons why that the data is often inaccurate.
So we'll go over this in a bit, but just when we say the self-response rate, we mean the best data that is used for kind of allocating these resources at the federal level. And you can see that central Brooklyn, southeastern Queens, parts of the Bronx have very poor self-response rates. So we will be focusing on those communities in our efforts in the coming months. So just to give you a little background on the timeline for the census, because it's important. So households will begin receiving instructions in the mail on March 12th, and every household will receive instructions by March 20th. And those instructions are going to come in one of two ways. They're going to contain kind of two sets of information. About 20% of New Yorkers, based on their census tract, will receive information on how to do the form. They'll receive a paper form rather, because maybe the Census Bureau has identified their tract as one that has poor broadband access or generally lacks access, reliable internet access. 80% of New Yorkers are going to receive instructions, detailed instructions, mind you, but instructions on how to complete the form online. And there will be instructions for how to do it in different languages, and even if you don't speak one of those 13 languages, there will be instructions for how to download language guides and video guides for up to 59 languages. So ideally, many of the languages will be covered kind of in that initial mailing. And at that point, you can self-respond freely to the census. Later in March, towards the end of March, every household will get, regardless of whether you did the census the moment you got the form or you decided to wait, every household is going to get a second reminder telling them, to do the census. And then in April, there will be another reminder only to households that have not responded yet, also in the mail. And then the fourth reminder to households that have not yet responded will actually include a paper form. So if you live in a census tract that was designated for online self-response, you will have an opportunity to complete the form on paper. If you don't like using computers, or you feel like you just would prefer to, for whatever reason you would, so you will have that opportunity. So we don't want people to think that because they got online instructions, that's it for them. Now, conversely, if you did get a paper form but you want to do it online, you're free to do it online immediately. You don't have to wait for the second or third mailing. And then in about mid-May to end of May, the enumerators will begin going kind of door to door, and that is where kind of the self-response period for the data stops. However, just because that's kind of the designated date for when self-response is over, but you can still self-respond through the entire process up until August. So if an enumerator knocks on your door and says, "Hey, have you done the census?" you can just say, okay, I will go do it right now on my computer, just go away. You can do that through August. So, for our purposes, self-response ends when the door-to-door process starts, but you can self-respond freely throughout the entire process through August. And then kind of the final count is delivered in December.
Does each household have like a unique ID number?
Yes, each household for replying to census online will be given a unique ID number, which you type in. What happens if you lose that ID number? Nothing at all. You could type in your address. There are ways to do it that if you didn't receive your ID number for some reason, or you lost it, you can still respond by typing in your address and verifying some information. So yes, you have a unique identifier. That makes it so much easier. You go, you type it in, you start. But if you lose it, as we tend to do, throw it away, you can still self-respond pretty much just as easily.
Can young people fill it out with a household as well? So that if we are ready to?
Yes, but I mean, yeah, I think it's up to the household how they want to complete the form. You know, that do these things for their families, right?
So our field director always likes to tell the story that ever since she was, you know, a young child, she has been the person to fill out the census for her family. So it's been done, it can be done, and you know, in a lot of communities that might be the best way to do it, especially if the parents are, you know, English limited, etc.
So we're gonna kind of push through here to move along a little quicker.
Okay, so our messaging really is focused on reminding folks that completing the census is easy, it's safe, and it's important. And we actually already
Yeah, so I will actually not go through the full pillars individually. I'll just kind of briefly touch on them and skip through those slides. So our program is kind of based on 4 pillars. We have our grants program, which actually the application period ended in October, but basically that is a first of its kind investment in hyper-localized census outreach, education, and awareness through local CBOs. So we will be funding many CBOs, kind of some large ones that we've all heard of, but many CBOs that have never actually received funding from the city before, to kind of help us engage their communities, because those are some of the most trusted voices in hard to count or undercounted communities. So we're very excited about that kind of going forward.
Well, I'll talk about field in a second. So.
Great. Our third pillar is kind of an innovative and also multilingual advertising and marketing campaign that will be kind of broadcasted on many different, you know, communications mediums, some that we don't typically think of. Yes, we'll be doing radio, and there is a video PSA and print advertisement, but we are trying to tap into communication platforms that maybe different communities belonging to different ethnic groups or language speaking groups tend to use, that are the best ways to reach those groups, right? So kind of thinking outside the box to reach everybody. And then finally, we have our partnerships pillar, which is, you know, my team and kind of what we're doing here today, which is, you know, engaging all city agencies to get their involvement so that they talk to their constituencies, their clients, their program participants, you know, and even to their own staff. There's 350,000 New York City employees, and we want every single one of them to do the census, to talk about the census. So we're going to work with city agencies in kind of a whole number of ways, and that's how Anthony has really been really helpful for us as well. And then, of course, we're engaging all 3 library systems with $1.4 million in funding so that they can kind of serve as central census hubs in their communities. And we will be really focusing on branches that are kind of undercounted communities, so that people, our CBO awardees, our volunteers can, you know, funnel people to those libraries, and those libraries will have dedicated technology for people to kind of sit down and do the census. And so kind of some of the ways that we're engaging youth, I don't know if Anthony wants to chime in, but we are connecting, you know, DYCD participants at Cornerstone Centers to Census Bureau jobs. Those door knockers, those are jobs that pay $20 to $25 an hour. They're great jobs, and they're over the summer too. I see your faces. We plan on connecting DYCD providers to CBO awardees so that they can host teach-ins or trainings, pop-up centers for completing the census, and other outreach activities at DYCD centers, because those are also very centrally located hubs where folks tend to congregate and you know, come for services and information. We're implementing a DOE-wide 2020 census public awareness campaign, and we're working with other agencies like ACS and DOP and many other agencies to kind of reach and tap their youth constituencies as well. And also we're working closely with NYCHA to ensure all household members are included on census responses. We know that, we know that a lot of youth live with family members in NYCHA developments, and they may not always be on the lease. That's, you know, what Title 13 is for. And now Sasha's going to spend a few moments talking about our Knox program, which we're very excited about.
So, right, our field operation is basically focused on getting as many people as possible on the ground, talking to their friends and neighbors about the census. So we've divided up the city into 245 neighborhoods, and we're calling these groups of stakeholders in each neighborhood neighborhood organizing census committees, so NOCs. And so, as I mentioned, basically the NOCs are a way for folks in their own neighborhoods to talk to their own neighbors, friends, and family about the census and get the word out. So we're asking NOC volunteers basically to participate in 4 outreach tactics. We are almost done with procuring some great technology tools that, you know, all of the sort of major political campaigns, outreach campaigns are using to make this possible. So one thing we've started doing is teach-ins. So actually I'll make a plug right now to tell you about our Bronx teach-in, which is going to be on Monday. And essentially the teach-ins are a way for us to teach folks about what's at stake in the census, but also how they can get involved with our volunteer program, and make sure that in any conversation they're having at dinner, etc., they're bringing up the census. Canvassing every single conversation. Community canvassing, so we're going out to events, to meetings, etc., and we're using these commitment cards for 2 reasons. One, to ask people to commit to filling out the census, so they sign this to make a formal pledge that they will complete the census, and they keep this card as a reminder of what's at stake. And then we keep the other section of this card, which asks for their information and whether they'd like to help organize their neighborhood. And this way, we keep them engaged. We're going to be conducting a massive peer-to-peer texting operation using cutting-edge tools that allow us to reach up to 1,000 New Yorkers per person per hour, and phone banking to get the word out. So essentially, the way the NOC structure works is, as I mentioned, it's neighborhood focused. So we are recruiting folks from their own neighborhoods so that they can figure out the best design for their own group and basically engage folks in the way that makes the most sense for them. It's simple, which means that folks who volunteered on a million causes can join and know what to do, but folks who've never volunteered for anything before can also join and work efficiently. It's adaptable, so it'll look different depending on the neighborhood and the neighborhood needs, and it's efficient. So the 4 ways that we've chosen are really outreach methods that seem to be sort of the most efficient and effective ways for us to reach the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time. And so this is just a slide to give you an example of the sorts of asks we've been making of volunteers until we get our tech tools, and also things that we do need help with from everyone, potentially even at this table. So we've been asking folks to help us recruit volunteers because we're building the army of folks that we need as we speak to get folks to fill out these commitment cards. To sign up for one-on-ones with members of our team, we have field associates in each borough who are meeting with folks to tell them about our program and hear from them about what they think are the best ways to organize their neighborhoods. We're asking folks to post on social media to tell us about community events that we should be at, and also if there are spaces that they think would be helpful for us to engage folks where people are already congregating, but also places where we can have phone banks and text banks, etc. And finally, the goal is for we're hosting these first couple teach-ins, but it's a real train the trainer model. So we're hoping that folks can host teach-ins in their own neighborhoods so that they're they can be the trusted voices in their communities.
Sasha, can teenagers volunteer? They're not?
Not only can teenagers volunteer for their knock, we want teenagers to volunteer for their knock. So absolutely, that is a huge goal of ours. Yes.
First, thank you for the presentation. Many of the things that you listed there, the university is already doing. The 26 campuses, the City University of New York. I have a question regarding the incarcerated individuals. Are you counting on working with that population? It's a very high population, people that are in prisons.
So, her question was about individuals who are incarcerated. So New York has a big jail population. We know that. So individuals living in group living arrangements, whether it's dormitories in colleges, homeless shelters, or prisons or military barracks even, are counted through a different process called group quarters enumeration. And so that is done kind of by the Census Bureau in conjunction or coordination with a contact at a jail or city agency. So there is a process for counting those individuals. Our office is working closely with the Census Bureau to ensure that they are doing that appropriately and effectively.
And to that point, I realized that we, in the introduction, we didn't mention the fact that, so the Census Bureau administers the actual census. Our role is basically we're the city's campaign to encourage people to participate in self-response. So the Census Bureau will be, operating the group quarter operation, but we'll be bugging everyone to fill it out on their own. Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the citizenship question, although they retracted it and didn't include it in the census, I feel like a lot of people, one, don't know what the census is about, and two, even though they took it away, this fear that they could get deported or get sent back to somewhere they don't want to be is still there. Yeah. And a lot of the people that live in New York City immigrated here and they weren't born here. So how are you guys gonna address that situation and ease the fear that is already present?
I'm really glad. Yeah.
Very good one.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad you brought that up. So, what you just described is basically the reason why our campaign exists. So, the reason why there's been an unprecedented investment in community-based organizations and into this grassroots field movement is that we really want to fund and empower communities to conduct their own research. Because if we do this presentation in a community that's not ours, it's not going to have the same effect than if we give the tools and resources to someone from their own neighborhood to talk to their friends, their neighbors, and people who trust them and say, you know what, the census is safe, it's easy, it's important, and by the way, the citizenship question did make it on the form. Additionally, it is a way for the self-response pitch is a good reminder to tell folks, if you don't want the feds knocking on your door, respond online or respond via respond during the self-response period. So that's part of the messaging that we're trying to get through. Yeah.
If you don't want the feds knocking, stop
asking. Right. Exactly.
And so a lot of what we're doing in the community, and when we will be working with our CBOs, which I did not give a shout out to CUNY for, and I apologize. They are a huge partner in that, along with City Council. And so a lot of what we're doing is kind of dispelling rumors of the citizenship question and so much misinformation. People are nervous that because it's online, maybe their information is at risk. It's not. There are so many strong protections in place. So there's, in addition to the citizenship question, there are other, a lot of other misinformation out there, and we kind of are working day in and day out to kind of dispel that and talk about why it's also so important to do. So yes, these things are not on the census and the census is safe, but it's not just something that is there for you to do, it's something that you need to do, because what it determines is so incredibly important.
So with that, oh wow, so with that, thank you so much for your presentation information, and I know you're sending around cards, and if anyone needs contact information, we can certainly do this, but I assume it's all there magically.
We'll send the presentation out.
Yeah, we will do well. So thank you so much. So we are over time. We were supposed to adjourn at 5:30, and it's 5:40 now. We did have one extra thing on the agenda, which was a report back from the working groups. I guess I'd love, and then we want to get to our social time. So I was wondering if the work groups would still like to do a quick 1-minute report back, or should we table it for an online discussion? My work group chairs, do you have a feeling about it? Okay. All right, so before we adjourn, we'll just have 2 minutes of group report backs, and then to the yummy treats that we have available.
All right, real quick. Jeanette and I met to discuss how can we engage youth with the youth committee. And it was just an initial meeting. We didn't meet with the full group, which we will. But we look today and see all these youth sitting before us, and the case is settled. You guys are going to be part of it, okay? No, but seriously, we are going to follow up and look to see how we can engage New York City Service, which is part of the mayor's office. They have a lot of youth committee groups that's already existing. We want to make sure we tap into that population to determine how we could bring those voices to be heard and offer to be part of our youth committee. I think it's easier just to look at a source that's already existing and just capitalize on that effort. We're also looking at to see, we're going to discuss with our committee members, a mentorship program whereby each youth committee member will have a mentee that we will mentor along the line and kind of like groom them and be a resource to them. We're going to offer that up as well to as a suggestion.
To elevate the youth voice, not speaking for them,
Yes.
but helping to elevate the voice.
One comment, I think it's really great that you've invited the group. I just want to add that traditionally, I understand these meetings take place in the morning. So if we really want to get youth involved, we have to move them to the afternoon. So just make sure that's on the table. So the team is pretty flexible, but she did mention that we have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and we're also trying to bring in, as they said, they do a lot of word of mouth, so they also bring in middle schoolers. So anything that can happen in the early afternoon, late afternoon, you can get more kids to the table. I'm sorry, young people to the table. Sorry, guys.
We hear you.
Well, the bylaws committee has been a very exciting committee. We've had a couple of calls, I think, or one call. Yeah, and we will have some proposals for you at the next meeting. And also, we've been waiting a bit, since youth representation is part of what we want to address in the bylaw revision. We've sort of been waiting for that committee as well. But it's very exciting work on the bylaws.
Thank you. So I just want to thank all the members again for all your effort. I mean, and this really sums it up, right? There's a real commitment to bringing youth voice and to being partners with young people in this effort at this table. So thank you again. I hope you'll be able to stay. I guess with that, the meeting is adjourned.